If you don't think a broker will screw you over in a heartbeat, regardless of how long you've been serving them, regardless of how big or how small you are, regardless of how many years you have in the business, listen to the following audio message and watch this entire video. This is going to blow your mind.
Hey, Doug, how are you?
Good. Hey, I feel a little bit like I'm being held hostage right now. So, I could lie to you and tell you I'm good, but I'm really not.
Okay.
As I sit down and I figure out your cost, I've been doing this for 30 years. I sit down and I figure out your cost. If you're paying drivers between $10 and $12 per hour, that's 25% of it. Then you add taxes on top of that, assuming a 20% tax rate, plus benefits, 20%. So I'm having a really hard time.
So, Doug, my whole point in this is to get the agreement.
So I'm basically paying you to run the service.
Okay, so what is agreeable then?
Well, Arnie talked to you about that last night. Arnie committed to you a 60-day agreement, a 30 to 60-day agreement at the current rate. I committed to being out there within the next 2 or 3 weeks to sit down with you and go through the pricing and figure out line item by line item where your costs are and what we can do to help each other get to the, I've got to meet my goal and you've got to make some money. I'm okay with that. And don't take this as a threat because I'm not that way. It's like I'm just going to fly some people in from all over the country and do it. I don't, and like I said, I've done the math. I've seen the cost. You want an agreement, I'll get you an agreement, but an agreement with an 11% increase, I don't get 11% from the hospital, and 11%, that's like what, but I thought we had a agreement yesterday, and then today, we're back to on closed Friday.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Okay. So let me back up too because I'm frustrated also. My contract ended in the end of March.
No, I remember I told you I just assumed this. I just assumed this. So I haven't been a part of not having a contract with you until like the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm telling you, I will be out there myself, sit down with you and work this out. I promise you, I will do that. My commitment to you.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. My contract ended in March. I've had some insurance issues or a lot of considerations from a legal standpoint, from an insurance standpoint, and all of that. In other words, you're saying you just came on board, so you weren't made aware until 2 weeks ago. Is that correct?
I was not made aware until 2 days ago that we didn't have a contract with you.
Okay, and that's the problem. That is my problem. Yeah, I'm a business person. Truly, I am a business person. I'm trying to run a business. It's not on a handshake or an agreement. I didn't come in the door that way. So it's like things are being looked over, and I have obligations also that I have. I'm trying to consider another insurance company, and there's a lot of moving pieces on my part too. So I'm a small business, but I can't operate on a small business. I have to operate as a business, period. So for you to confirm that you weren't aware, it's like I was swept under the radar. So I'm not being considered. No. And that's disrespect to me and my team. I'm responsible for 40 people.
No, I'm sorry, I disagree. It's not disrespect. Arnie says that you're asking for a 1-year extension at a higher rate that we can afford. I don't think that's consideration for us. It's not disrespect to you. And all I can do is apologize that it happened. Again, I'm new here. I'm committing to X. How we got here. The consideration, you're getting paid on a timely basis, right? And we're paying you as we promised. Is that correct or not, Arnie?
Yeah, that's correct. That hasn't skipped a beat. That is correct. Right.
Okay. Yeah. So with or without a current, quote unquote, current or agreement, we are paying you as we promised. Correct?
Correct.
Right?
So yes, exactly.
So is it the fact that you don't have a 1-year extension, or is it the fact that you don't have a rate increase, or the fact that you feel disrespected because?
Yeah, like I say, I'm into considerations of a new insurance contract and things of that nature also because of things being So I need to make some things happen too. So that's a big deal for me. So you're right. Every time I ask about where's my contract, I can't present to a new company or anything else until I have something. And it's getting ready to be signed. It's going to be signed next week, and I'm not sure who's signing it. Okay, that's all I'm saying. My voice has not been heard, so I don't want to get a runaround. I'm very much about business, truly.
I'm not giving you a runaround. When I asked Arnie to meet with you and get you a 60-day extension with the promise that the week after next, more than likely 100% be out the week of the 20th, I'll be more than happy to sit down with you and your accountant and my guys and just sit through and go through the numbers and figure out how I can help.
Doug, I'm hearing exactly what you're saying. So what I'm hearing at the bottom line is that my request had not made it to your level. So that's exactly where I was feeling when I said disrespected. It had not made it to the right level. I'm still being, we're paying ourselves sweeper up on the table and be quiet. That's not where I am. I have to talk to others.
So my question is, would you be willing to sign a 60-day extension at our current rate? With my commitment to you, I'll be out in the next couple of weeks with the team and work out the financial arrangements of a long-term deal. Could you give me that if I promise you I'll be there?
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, you have my word on that one. That's my promise. So if we're in agreement with that, I just need something stating exactly that.
Okay, so let's make it a contract amendment for 60 days at the current rate, and I will send you an email by tomorrow morning committing that I'll be there. We have appreciated the relationship. I know you stepped up and helped us out, so I apologize from the company and from Arnie and I for this getting dropped, but I will make it right with you, I promise, okay?
All right, and that's all I wanted, Doug, if you're the point contact, to make sure that was heard. Trust me, I enjoy serving, truly, at the customer level and at the management level. So, no, that has never been my discourse, but it's about business at this point. And that's all I'm saying. So put yourself in my shoes, and all I keep hearing is it's coming next week, and next week never came. So that's all, and I've got other things. Truly, I am looking at other insurance. I've got a lot on my plate. I've got a lot that's riding here, so I need things to be legit.
Understood.
Right.
So,
there we go.
So I'm going to hang up the phone, and here's where we're at. Arnie's going to get a 60-day extension at the same rate. I'm committing to being out there week after next. And can you commit to me that you're not going to talk to your quote-unquote advisors or CFO or somebody and come back and say, I'm firing you guys Friday?
No, I'm good with that. You got my word on that one. I can report back to that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Arnie, are we good?
We're good.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. I will see you in a week and a half, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Now, seriously, how incredible was that exchange? And you could dissect that exchange and go so many different directions with that. I could write doctoral dissertations about that exchange and all the backdrop associated with it. I'll try to condense it as much as I possibly can to expedite and keep this video as short as possible, even though I can go on and on for hours. To give you some quick backdrop, for the longest time, this client provider was trying to, her contract was up, she's trying to get a new contract, sign another year. They kept telling her, oh yeah, we love you, well yeah, we definitely will. But also in signing a new contract, obviously she wants increased rates of reimbursement because guess what, like anything, her costs are going up, labor costs go up, insurance goes up, gas goes up, everything. Oh yeah, we'll do it. They kept kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road. Finally, she enlisted my help. I got involved. After evaluating everything, I said, there's no question, they're not giving you enough for rates of reimbursement. If you continue on the current trajectory, you might as well start the clock because you're not going to be in business much longer. You need to increase your rates of reimbursement. And yes, I'm sure you've guessed it by now. She's a good size company. She had 40 employees, 100%, not 50%, not 75%, 100% dependent upon the brokers. And how many times do I keep sounding the alarm and warning everybody you do not want to put yourself in the vulnerable position where you are dependent on brokers? Well, here's a classic example where she is. So she has to get increased rates of reimbursement if she wants to remain viable long term. They kept telling her, yeah, but they never did. So finally, after retaining my services, I said, listen, how quickly do you want to go out of business? Because that's what's going to happen here if we don't throw down the gauntlet. We threw down the gauntlet, and we specifically gave them a line of demarcation that as of this date, we are done providing services for you. Thank you very much, unless we have a signed contract with increased rates of reimbursement. All of a sudden, once we finally throw down the gauntlet, then Big Doug gets involved. You heard the conversation, you heard the exchange, then Big Doug gets involved. Now notice Doug's posture. First, he's new to the organization, but Big Doug, did you notice from the very beginning, he felt like he was being held hostage. Big Doug felt like he was being held hostage. How is that even possible? For all these months, my client provider has been fighting to get a renewed contract with increased rates of reimbursement. Finally, we throw down the gauntlet, and then Big Doug feels like he's being held hostage. My client provider, who's struggling, trying to make a buck because the rates of reimbursement are too low. Now, granted, again, she has a very poor business model built on sand because she's a 100% Medicaid broker, and she's the one being held hostage here because she's not going to be in business much longer if something doesn't change. We don't get increased rates of reimbursement. But Big Doug, he's the one being held hostage. But what I also love, again, I could dissect this audio recording and I could write doctoral dissertations about it in so many different directions and have a huge long video about this. But the second thing that's awesome, did you notice how he talked about, I just can't make sense of it. I don't understand your numbers, how you're justifying 11% increase, and how is it possible? Because I'm looking, what your labor cost, if you're paying an employee $10 to $12 to drive and this and that. Big Doug, that ain't your concern. But guess what? To all of you watching this, this is the exact mentality of the Medicaid brokers. I'm going to venture out and say Big Doug has probably never owned his own medical transportation business. He's probably never even owned any business. I'm just speculating. I don't know for 100% sure. But again, as I mentioned in a previous video, so many times the MTMs, the Logistic Cares, all these other brokers, those guys have never owned a business. They're number crunchers. They work to get their bonuses. They want their quarterly bonuses. That's why if they could drive down your cost, boost theirs, guess what? They get a slice of the pie. If you've watched some of my videos from way in the past, you know where I've actually referenced and talked about different people when I've interviewed and talked to former employees from some of these brokers. They'll give you the inside scoop. They'll tell you about the bonuses they get, some of their strategies to drive your costs down, how they'll nickel and dime you. Again, there's a lot of money to be made in the NEMT industry, but not if you have the wrong business model. But did you see how Big Doug was willing to, he wanted to make sure that he comes down and he visits her. Big Doug's gonna come down and he's gonna solve the problem. He can't figure out her numbers. How could you possibly, I don't see where you demand 11%. Big Doug, why are you counting her pennies? Guess what? You are in business to empower yourself, not to be subservient, not to sharecrop to a Medicaid broker that they're trying to figure out how do you possibly justify your numbers. That ain't your business. That ain't your problem. I've said it for the longest time. When it comes to these brokers, all of them, they all have the common mentality, the way they approach transportation providers. Okay, they want men who are in business, but they don't want businessmen. They want women who are in business, but they don't want businesswomen. They don't want a smart, sound, logical, astute businessman, smart, sound, logical businesswoman. They don't want that. They just want you in business so they can chew you up, spit you out. That's what they want. That's why he can't make sense of it. He's being held hostage. He can't make sense of it. So, again, I could go on and on. You listen to the recording, your jaw had to be like dropping off the ground. I mean, you had to be awestruck by that conversation. Because it's very impressive, and it's a classic example. There's so many different nuggets associated with that exchange that you could just pick up on. But here's the other thing now, did you notice towards the very end, this is what blew my mind. This was the quintessential golden nugget that I absolutely loved. Did you notice towards the very end, little slick Dougie, how when Doug said, all right, so can we agree on this? My client said, yeah, okay, we're gonna do that. I'll give you a couple weeks. Did you notice when Big Doug said, so can you promise me you won't talk to any more of your advisors or legal counselors or your CFO? Did you notice that? That is exactly what the brokers do. That is quintessential broker right there. They don't want you to be a smart, sound, astute businesswoman or businessman. They don't want you getting that outside counsel advice. They don't want that. Why? They can't control. It's harder for them to control you. That's why so many of you watch this. And again, I know so many of you were upset by my previous videos, especially my previous video in the one where I wasn't cussing, I was spelling. But again, I love this client provider. She's great. She works hard. My heart goes out to her. But she puts herself in the position for the longest time she did. And did you notice how she even said, hey, I love to serve. I love to serve at the customer level. I love to serve at the management level. God bless her. God bless her. This is a well-intentioned, highly motivated, caring, compassionate woman that just wants to build a good business. Problem is that she followed the fool's gold. She followed the fool's gold, built her house on sand, and became 100% reliant on Medicaid brokers. I'm telling you, you cannot do that if you want to be self-empowered and you want to make real money and own your business, have self-determination. You do not want to make yourself reliant on these brokers. Sure, you could use a little bit of broker work if it's profitable. I got no problem with that. That's why I say the foundation of your business needs to be the private pay, the contracted work. You use the Medicaid work and the broker work as filler work. Keep the vehicles moving, as long as it's profitable. Keep the vehicles moving, keep making money, keep generating positive cash flow, but you never go all in on brokers. They make one slight shift, your entire business model just obliterated. Case in point, let me finish the story. Here's what happened with this client provider. Did you notice in there where Big Doug said, hey, let's get an agreement together that we're going to continue for 60 days? First of all, let me back up even more. Did you hear him say, well, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to threaten you. I'm not that kind of guy, but I'm going to fly people in. Did you hear that? That was huge. That was absolutely huge. Think about it. Big Doug says, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't want to threaten you. But I'm going to start flying people in just to get the job done if I have to. Really, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to threaten you, but I'm going to fly people in. I perceive that as a threat. Let me tell you what happened. So here it is. You heard the audio. Here it is, Big Dougie Fresh. Big Doug told my client provider, hey, I'm going to be down. Let's sign an agreement for an extension at the same rate. She fell for it. Okay. She did it. She did against I would have done it. She did. She was on the conversation. Okay, she did. Sure enough, here's what happened. Big Doug comes in town, and they signed the agreement, signed the extension. Big Doug, all he did was buy time, because Big Doug comes in town. But when Big Doug comes in town, gave her the verbal commitment, they faxed over an agreement that they were going to give her the increased rate. Client provider contacts me. I'm on a conference call with her. I think her husband was in the background, her daughter, who also worked with them in the business. And they're celebrating. Joel, we did it. Look, boom. Look at the rates of reimbursement. And I was reading through it. I said, looks good, but here's the problem. Here's the problem I got. It's open-ended. There's no type of guaranteed you're going to be stuck at this, or they left it open-ended when it comes to the actual date, the term of the contract. So I quickly drafted a response saying, rebuttal, hey, we're excited, we love it, this and that, but we need confirmation that this is going to be a one-year contract. Didn't get a response. Within two days, all of her business was shut down. Granted, she wasn't making money before because her costs kept going up and up, and she was pushing for a new contract because she needed increased rates of reimbursement. The contract was expired. They just kept crunching her up, using her, spitting her out. Sure enough, you heard the conversation. Big Doug was going to come in, look at the numbers. All Big Doug did was straight up play her like a pawn. That's all he did. Again, you listen to the audio. This is a good woman, a well-intentioned woman. I mean, hired a lot of people, cared for a lot of people, gave of herself. Big Doug, the broker, said, hey, I'll come in, we'll look at your numbers, which is a farce anyways. All he did was buy time, because little did my client provider know the entire time he was looking to get replacements. Hey, he said, hey, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to fly people in if I have to. Well, basically what he did is the whole time behind her back, they were just lining up independent providers, line up independent guys to come in and start, and I'm sure they came in at an even lower rate. Huge debacle. But here it's a classic example of how you cannot trust a broker. They say one thing, they'll do another thing. And I know that there are so many of you who, and I've talked to you, some of you guys have called, we've talked, some of you I've worked with in the past, you've sent emails, and you think it can't happen to you. You really, some of you watching this, you think it can't happen. Oh no, Joel. Oh no, I know Roger. We have a good rapport. I know Roger from Logisticare. Oh sure. Oh no, I know Bob from MTM. Oh no, Joel, that can't happen to me. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Here it is, my client provider had been working with them for like 2 or 3 years. Boom, blowing up the business, 100% reliant on the broker. And look how they did her. They straight did her dirty. You heard the audio. Oh, I'll be in town. We'll do it a 60-day. It didn't even take them 60 days. It probably took them 2 to 3 weeks tops. Then they shut her down because all they did was turn the spigot off. They turned the spigot off. They used all their gypsy service, independent services. Totally, she had nothing. Why? Because at the end of the day, she was 100% dependent on them. Here, you heard the audio, it's incredible. It's like, how do you promise someone, you gave him the verbal commitment. Now some of you watch it saying, oh Joel, maybe you have a legal claim, maybe you can go sue them, you have the audio recording. At what cost? At what cost? At what point in time? At what cost? Because that was one of her questions. Well, can I sue them? We have this recording. He gave me a verbal commitment. Yeah, but at what cost? I mean, how much good money do you want to chase after bad? Bottom line is, it's a no-win situation. If you've watched this entire video, I know it's long-winded. You know I have a habit of being long-winded, especially when I'm talking about something I'm passionate about, something like this. This is serious business, because think about how much this situation has adversely affected my client provider and not only her demeanor, her perspective, her spirit, but that also of her family, because her husband helped in the business, her daughter helped in the business. And this guy, Big Doug gave her a verbal commitment. Oh, I'll be in within 2 weeks, this and that. The whole 2 weeks behind her back, they're just lining them up behind her. They give her a contract. When Big Doug comes in town, I look at it. Hey, it looks great. We were celebrating on the phone. She was all happy. I said, listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's one thing I don't like about this. It's open-ended. It doesn't say that you're going to have these guaranteed rates for a full year. They were buying time. I said, we got to send them a response. We have to request a fixed date. We sent in a statement asking for the fixed date. We didn't get a response. We waited 2 more days. But over those 2 days, all of a sudden, they turned the spigot off. The well dried up. Didn't get a response. She ended up calling Arnie, and he said, no, we're good. We don't need your services anymore. So listen, you heard the audio. You heard the whole story. The whole purpose of this video, if you're still watching this point, it's me encouraging you. Do not put your faith and trust in a broker. Put your faith and trust in you, being God-inspired, healthy, sound mind and body. You go forth and you do great things. You empower yourself. I put out a couple other videos, Innovate or Die, where I call on you. You got to be creative. You got to be innovative. You got to be always working to build and tweak and modify your business model. Everybody goes after the low-hanging fruit because they're lazy. And when you're lazy and you're dependent upon these brokers, as I've said in the other videos, you're nothing more than a bitch. And you're right, I didn't cuss. I know that's harsh for some of you. I know some people send their emails, Joel, you're too cocky. Oh, you shouldn't talk like that. You're talking down to people. No, I'm just calling it as it is. I've been in this game long enough. I've pretty much seen it all. I know how it's going to play out. I promise you. I encourage you, just have faith and trust, not only in God, but in yourself. Have faith and trust in what you can do on your own if you're willing to work. If you want to be lazy, go after the low-hanging fruit. Chase after the broker. Chase after the broker. Yes, Master Logisticare. Oh yeah, yes, Master MTM. Go after that. You want to build something that you own, where you have self-determination. There's no gatekeeper. There's no broker that's serving as that gatekeeper or that toll booth operator that comes between you and the customer. You need to innovate your own business model, build it to the best of your ability so that you have an unconditional 100% self-determination. Because when you have self-determination and you're going to the top, I'm going to see you at the top.